The richest generation in history somehow left their kids broke, but it wasn't an accident. Let's first talk about divorce. Baby boomers were the first generation to make divorce normal. Between 1960 and 1980, divorce doubled in the United States. Millions of kids grew up in broken homes and learned that commitment was optional. Now let's talk about housing. Baby boomers were the first generation to be able to buy homes for $300,000 and then turn around and sell them for $500,000 and then vote against making living affordable ever again. Your rent is high on purpose because that is their retirement plan. Now let's talk about kicking kids out at 18 years old. Baby boomers were the first generation to wear this as a badge of honor. Before that, families used to build wealth together and pool money. That cultural shift wiped out the only wealth building tool that families had.
That is the only thing. I always hated that, kicking kids out before, but I'm gonna come back to it. Let it play.
Talk about the credit card trap. Baby boomers were also the first generation to run up insane amounts of credit and then vote to allow credit card companies to be able to charge insane interest rates. Now their kids are drowning in debt just to cover basic things like food and rent. All of this led to the $40 trillion debt bill the United States has right now. They used up all the money and we are left paying the bill. An $84 trillion wealth transfer is coming when all the boomers pass, but that is going to be ate up by inflation. Now, before you get upset, they did not destroy America on purpose. They simply just didn't ask the questions on what the repercussions would be. Greed dressed up as freedom is still just greed.
We're going to talk about something that nobody wants to talk about. Boomers bought a house on a single income, smarter salary. While we're out here with 2 salaries, 3 side hustles, and we still can't afford a down payment. They paid for college working summer jobs. We graduated with debt that's going to take decades to pay off. They retired at 65 with a pension. We're being told to invest in ourselves and hope for the best. And look, this isn't about hating anyone. This is about the math. The economy they inherited genuinely set them up to reward ordinary effort. Ours didn't. We're not lazy. We're playing a completely different game and pretending that the rules are the same. So comment down below, which generation do you really think had it harder?
Behind every no contact story, there's usually a boomer parent saying, "I have no idea why my kid won't talk to me," and an adult child who's completely exhausted from trying to explain it. Boomers are allergic to accountability. They act like grandparent toddlers, pouting, lying, manipulating, and demanding attention the second they don't get their way. They think they're the star of everyone's story, but they ruin their own families by refusing to learn basic communication, empathy, or conflict resolution skills. We've had to be the grown-ups, explaining to our parents how to be decent humans, and that's not our job. Nobody wants to go no contact with their parents. But when the rumors get back to you that they have no idea what they did, and people are looking at you like, "What's wrong with you?" take that as confirmation that you made the right choice. My mother was willing to lose me rather than owning her truth and seeking help. You don't have to maintain a relationship with boomer adult toddlers just because they're your parents. There's lots of other people out there that would be happy to love you.
That fucked up the economy and the environment is right there. And it wasn't millennials. It wasn't.
This shit is so fascinating to me to see. I'm 36. I was born in 87, right dead center practically of the millennial generation. And we have been getting called names, labels, lazy, entitled, all this crap by the older generations for forever.
Being called lazy before you can even enter the workforce is wild, bro. Being called lazy before you can even work is wild, bro.
But when you look at the boomers across the entirety of their generation, they have always been whiny, crybaby little brats about everything. They're the ones that started the hippie movement and snorting cocaine and shit on school campuses. They're the ones that were sitting around smoking pot and refusing the draft. The draft had to be re-implemented because so many of them were refusing to go to war.
This one couple that I used to do work with or whatever, middle-aged baby boomer, not middle-aged, but middle 70s baby boomers, right? And they like I said, I wasn't keen to all this millennial talk, right? In the black community, this is fairly new, for us to be aware of the millennial Gen Z. We don't talk like that. We just don't, we just work and, whatever. So they would always say these condescending things about millennials and all this other crap. And, like I said, I wasn't familiar with really these terms. Now, for some of you right? A lot of you are going to, I know what it is now, but you're going to see this and be like, how didn't you know? Well, we don't talk like that. We invest our time into other things, which is okay. Like I said, I've learned. But you millennials are lazy. You guys don't like to work and da 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 da. And it's like, I don't know what who are you talking about? Because I've had a job since I was 13, 14 years old. I don't know what you're referring to. But they would always say, just condescending things about millennials, right? And just so you know, Gen Zers, right? They include you guys as millennials. They think everybody under the age of, their kids were in their 40s and 50s. So I guess in everybody that's beneath their children, that's how they saw it, right? If you're beneath their children in their late 40s and early 50s or whatever, you're lazy, right? And it took me to challenge, I just did my due diligence. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, yo, what is a millennial? Why they keep saying that shit? You know what I mean? So I did a quick Google search. I'm like, oh shit, they throwing shade at me too. They keep, and it was like, it wasn't, how somebody will bring up something and it's like, they're not saying it directly to you, but in which context they're using that. They're talking about you. They're grouping you with everyone else too, right? And it was like, okay, well, this is eye-opening. It's false, but they really believe that shit, even though we have it worse.
They're the ones that were doing sit-ins at college campuses. The boomers have always had this attitude of refusal to cooperate with anybody else but themselves.
Sorry, I just remembered. That's what it was. They were talking about how everybody's on, you shouldn't be smoking weed and this and that and the third and da 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 da, right? I'm like, well, I've never smoked, so I don't even, I don't know what you're referring to. You you millennials, all you guys do is smoke your life away and this and that. I'm like, okay, I thought you guys loved the hippie movement and all that other stuff. We did, okay. So come to find out, they snorted cocaine, right? Did heroin, all type of crazy shit. Right? Now, mind you, I'm a millennial that hasn't done none of that. But somehow you're better than me. I have never smoked, drunk a little bit in college, never done any drug, any recreational drug, right? Besides a few public drinks when I was in college. You snorted coke, bro. There's nothing you can ever tell me. Like, nothing. You snorted a line, bro. You pulled a Scarface. Nah.
And as they had children, and as some of them had Gen Xers,
right.
A lot of them had millennials. So as their children and grandchildren were born into the millennial generation, they almost immediately, like I remember around the age of 10, started calling us lazy and entitled and all this stuff.
That's what I'm saying.
Yet I remember going to school, and I remember a math teacher in 7th grade who kids would get in fights.
Yep.
And this math teacher, female, I'll never forget her telling us that if we're going to get in a fight at school, you better beat the ever-loving shit out of that kid, because you're going to get suspended the same level either way. Like, that's the kind of shit that we were taught, right? Hyper-aggression, constant competition, constant just stress to be the best you can be at everything. Everybody's your enemy. That is the shit that we were taught. And simultaneously given shitty labels. And then 9/11 happens. We were the first generation to be an all-volunteer generation during a time of war in U.S. history. They didn't need a draft for us to go. We volunteered. And we had the U.S.'s longest war. The 2008 economic crash, then COVID, now this economic crash nobody wants to call an economic crash. We haven't been in charge of anything at almost any capacity to have real power to fuck anything up. It's still the boomers. They're the ones in their 70s in high-level political positions. High levels of influence, CEOs, high-level managers.
This is what so for people that say, it's not the boomer, this is exactly what this man is saying. Thank you to this _MFR, right? This is what I'm talking about. Then well, it's not just the boomers, it's the establishment. Well, the establishments are ran by boomers. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. Critical thinking goes a long way. It's not even critical thinking. That's basic common sense. But you'll still get those people or those undercover boomer profiles that come and say, oh, well, it's not all boomers. It's not. Boomers run everything. We don't run nothing. There's not a millennial in charge of nothing. Like damn near nothing.
Almost more than half of the people I work with, including all my managers, are boomers. 65 plus. I think there might be one that's like 58 or 59. So my point with this stitch is the boomers cooperate. They somehow have attacked every generation around them since they were old enough to start doing it and refusing to cooperate with anybody but themselves.
Yep.
They work together like no generation has in a long ass time. They have taken over everything. They've ruined everything, but they've done it together. And now somehow this is leaking, whatever this phenomenon is that's leaking into Gen Z, where they're attacking millennials now. You guys aren't even 30. You guys, as of 2019, the oldest of you was 22 years old. So you guys are pushing 26, 27 now. You guys haven't been in the workforce long enough. The majority of you, the older ones have, but the majority of you are still teenagers. You're barely 11, 12, 13 years old.
Right.
You don't have enough world experience to understand what's really going on, how the strings are being pulled, what the millennials have witnessed in our short 40 or less years on this earth.
These are facts.
And so what I'm starting to see is this division of generations. The boomers are still sticking together. They hire each other. In my organization, somebody retires or quits, they hire a boomer. They hire a boomer who has no qualifications, no education, no bachelor's degrees, no nothing that they told us that we need to have to get the job.
They want sheep. Boomers are sheeps. They want people that's just going to do what they're told. Right? Not question even if something is off, right? Not request what's actually needed. You know what I mean? Boomers they lay down and die. When it comes to backbone, they don't have them. That's why they want
While millennials are applying to those positions and getting denied those positions. They're continuing to hire their 65 and 68 and 70, 71-year-old friends and neighbors who have no qualifications. And they're pulling in triple incomes. They're pulling in Social Security, pulling in retirement from a previous job, and now pulling in this new income. And if they're married, he or she's doing the same thing. So they're pulling in 5, 6 incomes into one household and then still blaming millennials for whining and crying about how bad the economy is.
Yep.
Point here is they work together. And if we allow them to divide us between these younger generations and the upcoming Gen Alpha, it's going to destroy everything worse than it already is, because as these guys eventually, inevitably start dying off, we're not going to know how to run anything because they're not mentoring us. They have to be the first generation in modern history to not mentor and take the younger generation under their wing and show them how to do things.
Right.
And let them slowly take charge of things. So we have to do that. The millennials have to do that to the best of our capacity with the younger generations, and you younger generations have to be willing to be mentored and taken under people's wings. You have to be willing to learn from us.
Right.
And work together with us, because we don't have a whole lot of power either, again, because it wasn't given to us. So as that power starts transitioning to us, we need to have it's not going to be smooth between the boomers and us. It's going to be a fucking mess completely. But we need to be able to smoothly transition that power to you guys. And we need you guys to cooperate with us in doing it.
You guys have to understand too, and this is for a lot of the younger generation. You guys have to understand, millennials, yes, we had internet growing up, but it wasn't the internet that you guys have now. We had web browser, okay? It wasn't, we could just access, we couldn't just access the world through our phone. We couldn't find information, contacts, and stuff as easily as you guys can right now. It's amazing how far technology has come since I used to have dial-up internet. Well, we didn't even have internet. I used to walk to the public library, use my, the public library card. You get an hour on the internet. That was the only time I got on the internet. Besides when I got to college, really, right? Unless you were in like a computer lab. You guys are able to access information in your hand. So you should be, when it comes to knowledge, you should be smarter than us. You should be, right? We grew up in an era where we did what we were told, right? We were promised, right? If you stick in school and you you choose a career, this is what you're gonna get, right? We seen the OGs, the older people with the nice houses, the nice cars. We seen that, right? We seen being able to go into a store and buy whatever you want, do whatever you want. We seen that, right? We were told you get this degree, you graduate, you get here, this is what you're gonna get. None of that happened. The twos and fews, maybe, right? I think in the medical field, it's a lot easier to get a position than it is with anything else because healthcare is like the number one thing needed in shit around the world, but United States. We did what we were told. And you got to remember, this is before we even know what we wanted to do. Most people change their careers in their 30s, 40s, right? You're supposed to make this life-changing dedication to a career that you're unsure about before you're even mature enough to do so. And we did that. We were promised X, Y, and Z. X, Y, and Z didn't get delivered, right? Those same people that used to get in trouble for not going to school, like legitimately they used to get in trouble for not going to school, right? I don't blame kids for not wanting to go to school. I do think education is needed. I don't think a college degree is needed. No. I think you can find a very good trade, right? And even and it's something going on with the trade industry right now where it's not even doing what it used. Man, look, that's not my field of study, so I'm not even gonna attempt. Okay. The other thing is, I never fully supported the whole, you're 18, and this is the problem, right? I have to be very specific about when I speak because I grew up, I'm a black inner city kid. I grew up different than a lot of people I see commenting under these videos, right? We have a lot in common, and I'm learning from you guys at the same time, but I also grew up differently. I never agreed with the whole notion of kicking a kid out at the age of 18. I never agreed with a kid under the age of 20 paying bills. I had to do that. I never agreed to that though, right? Because I have a job now. I have to help balance out the bills that you've already been having. My kids don't never have to worry about that. I don't care if my kids I told my kids, you can stay here as long as you want. The moment you graduate college, if you go to college or not, you can stay here as long as you want. As long as you want. Save up your money. Invest that so that way when you step out into the world, you're not struggling. Pushing someone out before they're ready and making them get ready, you're going to always stay behind the curve. You're going to always be what they say, where you can't get over the hump. That's crazy to do that. And that was done to us. I've been independent. I was the literal version of a latchkey kid, right? I literally had a key around my neck on a keychain at 6 years old, walking almost 2 miles home. That was me. Now, like I said, my circumstances are a little different. My grandmother was from the South. She was black. She had to work 3 or 4 jobs. So she never even got to benefit any of these things that most people and their parents got to benefit, right? Kicking a kid out and not allowing them to save and get their life figured out is the reason why a lot of millennials are in the position we're in. We're still trying to catch up. How does that help? Time and time again, I make these videos and it's evident that the boomers are the issue. Someone said, what does talking about it do? We have to do something. Well, talking about it spreads more awareness. Talking about it gives you more confidence and knowledge about it to engage in these conversations with these boomers. This is why you need to do it. I'm not saying go around and berate them and da-da-da-da. Have a calm conversation about it. And oftentimes, 99% of the times, most boomers, they check out because they know it's wrong. But they don't like to acknowledge that they're wrong. They are the biggest babies and people that do not like to be held accountable for anything. It is what it is. Let me know what y'all think about this video below. I'm going to keep them coming. I'm gonna keep them coming. Also, big shouts outs to every single one of these creators. I don't have links to their channels, but you can see their names in every single video. I don't do the shady shit like some of the other creators and blur out their names. They're here, right? Thank you to every single one of y'all, and go and show them some love. Show them the video. Ayo Bassel TV, make sure y'all hit the like button, and also hit the hype button for your guy. Spread these videos, man. I'm getting suppressed right now because the boomers are hating on us right now. We got to spread this video. See y'all the next one. Peace.